Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Doing Business in the United States, a starter guide to working with US market specialists and industry consultants. Today's webinar is brought to you by the Enterprise Europe Network. And before I give the floor to Yvonne for the moderation of today's webinar, I would like to briefly introduce the Enterprise Europe Network in a nutshell. It is the world's largest service provider for small and medium-sized enterprises, but also increasingly for startups. We help businesses to grow and to innovate internationally. We have around 500 business organizations as our official partners within the network, and these could be, for example, chambers of commerce, innovation agencies, national development agencies, and so forth. It's a quite heterogeneous network, and this is what I would say also is our strength. There's around 3,000 network advisors and sectoral experts in daily contact with businesses in Europe and actually across the globe. Advising those businesses, and we are represented in more than 50 markets, and of course this includes all EU member states, but also a lot of other exciting markets such as the US, but also Singapore, South Korea, and so forth. In addition to generating or providing hundreds of services every single day, we are very proud of the impact we generate, the tangible impact we generate for our businesses. So every single day we generate 5 business deals for our clients, and we're very proud of that. I also would like to take the occasion to give you a short overview on the type of services the Enterprise Europe Network is offering. Innovation is very high on the agenda. It's one of the major pillars of the Enterprise Europe Network. So we're offering technology transfer services, selling and acquiring IP, innovation management services. We help companies to adopt more sustainable business models. And one of the core strengths of the network is, of course, also our knowledge about the EU single markets with regard to EU industrial regulations and rules and regulations in general. So we help companies to navigate those rules and to take advantage of the EU single market, which is a massive market with 450 million consumers, as you probably know. Business partnering. That's another major pillar within the Enterprise Europe Network. So we're organizing pre-arranged business-to-business, face-to-face business meetings on major fairs. We are organizing trade missions, company missions within Europe, but also to other countries. And we help companies to internationalize. We provide a wealth of information on the different markets we are covering. We help companies to take advantage of free trade agreements, and we help companies also to get the necessary finance and funding to develop their internationalization projects and innovation projects. So if you're a company, if you're interested in receiving such services, reach out to us via our official website. It's en.ec.europa.eu. On the top and right corner, you see the web address, so you can find us there, and you can reach out to your local contact points, which are also indicated on this very website. This concludes my very, very brief introduction, and I would now give the floor to Yvonne to moderate the webinar on doing business in the United States. Yvonne, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Thomas. Good to be with you today. And thank you for allowing us to host this webinar. We felt it's important to give an overview what it means to work with industry consultants when you're expanding into the US. The setup in the US is quite different from what's happening in Europe, and we felt it's important to provide an overview of how you work with industry consultants especially in the United States. There are cultural differences, but also other differences that we are going to highlight in today's program. And we are, as far as the EEN is concerned, we are very happy to be part of the Enterprise Europe Network. The US EACC chapters are the US intake partner of the platform. So we work with companies from Europe coming to the US and Canada, and we're delighted to work with you on this. I think it's our third year. I don't know. I stopped counting. after we had so much fun in the first year. We have with us two industry consultants from the US and Canada today. Olivier Perrin, he's the founder of Becoming Elsewhere, a company that is dedicated to supporting European soft landing and subsidiaries set up in North America and Canada, North America being US and Canada. We also have Michael Sass, he's the president and founder of Across Food, which offers a wide range of management consulting services in the food industry. And both have been in that role for 2 decades and are real experts on working with companies, not only from Europe, coming to the US and Canada, but from all over. And obviously expanding into the US it offers a plethora of opportunities. But it's also, it can become a maze of cultural differences, hurdles on the regulatory space, and legal issues, market complexities. Things work differently in other countries. And instead of, it's kind of like the raison d'etre of both EACC and the Enterprise Europe Network. Don't do it alone. Because, by the time you figured out, all the regulatory requirements that you need to comply with, you lost 6 months of bandwidth, and, God, beware, you made a mistake, and then, have a label printed or designed that you can't use in the United States or in Canada, and then you're starting from scratch, or you have a name that doesn't work here, and then you're starting from scratch. The other issue that we're seeing with working, with expanding, when you don't have somebody on the ground, is everything is 4,000 miles away. And, you have a 6-hour time difference or more, and it is difficult to manage everything, manage your own business in Europe, and then at the same time managing the expansion. And you don't have the local know-how in the beginning. So it's important to deal with somebody, to work with somebody who's an expert on the ground in the location, who can help you not make mistakes. And it's not only the market know-how, there are also intricate differences in the food sector, but also in other sectors where it's it's one way of doing certain things in Germany or in France. They may be completely different in the US, and all of those topics we're going to get into in this program today. So knowing what you don't know. I'm going to start with you, Michael. What are some of the starting points for companies when they are expanding into the US? How do you figure out where to what you don't know?
First of all, thank you very much for hosting us here this morning, Thomas and Yvonne, and hope that everybody's doing fine in the afternoon or in the morning, wherever you're calling in from. So to answer to the question, a first intake conversation, a meeting, could be virtual, could be live in person, is always a good thing where to start. Have an understanding of where the factory, where the exporter is located, what their objectives are, how they see their own medium-term, long-term availability on the US markets or market development activities. That's always a good start. Listen and see where you can assist. Add value where needed, but don't over promise, don't over mingle with current local affairs in Europe. Just try to make sure that there's an understanding and that you can help the company for whatever reasons they may be contacting you. I think that's a first good starting point.
Mm-hmm. And you already pointed out it's really going both directions. I mean, you have a call with a potential with a consultant that you may want to bring on board. The first is really a data dump. No? What are your plans? How can the consultant address some of these issues? How can they help you? But for that, I would say, so the most important thing is be prepared. Have all of your plans together. Have your strategy together, and then be able to have like an educated conversation with a potential consultant or with somebody who might be able to help. I mean, how many times am I going to get on the phone with companies that their plan is, I want to expand into the US?
Yeah.
But honestly, that's not a plan.
Yeah, I think what is perhaps as well holding back some of the European companies is that they're afraid to share information, to already share, like, okay, this is the past experience that we had. It was not a good one. We're trying to do this better now. So share that information. And if needed, if a non-disclosure agreement needs to be signed in order to protect your information, we're all accustomed with that in North America, in the US market. So there's really no reason why you should not be open and upfront with this intake conversation. So it's efficient, it's not too lengthy, it's not too much time consuming. Everybody knows, okay, this is the starting point. How can we build on this?
No, that makes a lot of sense. Olivier, what are you seeing in this first conversation that you're having when someone reaches out to you?
Yes, thank you for the invitation. I am very happy to be with you today. The first word I say at my partners or future customers is to have a plan, to take enough time to be able to be well surrounded. Because without any time, you can project yourself in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. And as you have a methodology to change for the change management in a foreign country, we need to find the good customers to understand that. Then without any time, we can't change the future. We need time. Time is the key for in our process.
And also, I mean, you just reminded me of something. So have a plan, but your plan may be the plan that you would use with a European viewpoint. The plan may need to change depending on, if you're going to the United States. I mean, I started my career in the United States.
Mhm.
I think like if I would have followed European career starter advice, it would have been completely different.
Yes.
What do you see what are some of the common mistakes that I mean, it's like these companies are established companies in Europe. They have a marketing team, they have a budgeting team, they should know what they're doing, and they know what they're doing, but maybe there's a little bit of lack of translation when it comes to the United States. What are you seeing in that space?
Yes, we work in a complex world. Then personally, I work with a quantum project, deep tech project, a cyber defense project. Then it's very, very difficult already in their own country because all is different. In Paris, in Berlin, in London, all is different. We can compare everything like that. And for example, our DNA, it's very complex. Everybody, we are very complex. Our background is very complex. Then when we decide to change of country, it's another step of complexity. Then we need to understand ourselves, why we have success in our country, why we would change of country. And as a legal approach is very different in every country, in USA, for example, we need to take time to understand what kind of legal approach we need to do. Sometimes you say it's a maze. It it's about 6 months to change or to be comply with the law. Sometimes it's 12 months, sometimes it's 24 months. Then we need time to be able to be in conformity with the target. Very, very important for it.
And hence a reason you need to talk to somebody who is an expert on the ground. But let's drill down into a little bit more detail on how such a relationship can work, because there are different kinds of consultants. I would like to, both of you, because your industries are different, you know, outline that for our audience. And Michael, maybe you can start with that. You know, there's the on the ground, I'm going to be your person on the ground, and you know, I will have your hat on consultant, and then there's an advisor that comes to the table. Can you outline the difference?
Yes, so perhaps for everybody's understanding, so I'm really focusing on the food industry and the supply chain towards food industry. So that's my working field. That's where I am with my 2 feet on the ground each and every day. So not to confuse with Olivier's more other technical cyberspace defense types of industries. So there as well a different approach. So how do you outline a new project? I think it's important for my speaking partners, my potential clients, my potential new partners to understand that the US food market from a distance looks the same as the EU market, but it's completely different. So you need to understand what the differences are. From a legal perspective, that's always the first one that comes up. People understand that the US market is about legislation, about a culture where people sue each other in case something goes wrong. So you have to come up with an understanding, how can we protect our business in Europe while doing business on the US market? So that's a first important aspect. That's the legal implications that may or may not come your way. Additional to that, food market is of course very regulated. So you have organizations like FDA, like USDA. I'm sure even if you're not familiar with the food industry, you've heard of them. So they are regulating quite a bit of things in combination with US customs. We all are very fresh in our minds. We have the tariffs and all of that. So there as well, you as an exporter, you need to understand, okay, from a supply chain perspective, what are my implications? What are my cost implications? How complicated is it to get to the market? What barriers are there? What entry barriers are there? All these things need to be discussed. All these potential objectives, potential situations, incidents that may come your way, you need to be fully aware of that. So in my field, before I start working together with somebody on a commercial basis, on a corporate governance basis, I want my partners to understand from A to Z what they're getting themselves into. I call it a 360-degree review. What are you going to be facing? As I mentioned, legally, supply chain, competition, indirect competition, how is the market structured? What are the different margins that everybody's taking? Why are there so many margins? Why are there so many people involved before you get to your customer? So we need to outline this. And at the end of this 360-degree review, I think it's important that your expert in the market comes back to you with some kind of a strategic recommendation. Hey, I see red flags here. I see opportunities there. This is how I would do it when I were in your shoes. That's my first approach. That's the initial couple of months actually before you get to a conclusion. Where are we going from here? What budgets are needed? And is this working for everybody involved?
And I think you're making a good point, because we were just talking to a company who had some customs issues, and then the answer that I got back was, yeah, you know, we talked to a broker, we're good to go. And it immediately makes my hair stand up, because I don't think you're good to go. What I think is, and I would like you to, both of you, to elaborate on that. So you have this conversation, and then it goes on over a couple of months. I understand that that companies are keen to kind of move. You know, I made the decision, you know, to go to the U.S. You know, gotta go. They want to come over as soon as possible. But how do you outline, based on all the things that need to be done, need to be considered? How do you differentiate different options for hiring you? I mean, I can hire you as my representative on the market, and Olivier is doing similar work, or I can hire you as a you know, as an outside advisor. I mean, it's like, what are the different options that companies have? If you could both address that. How
Olivier,
deep does the relationship go with the two of you?
I can answer and add something. We have a methodology to help before to hire somebody. We have to select ourselves. We are a seed, and we have to find the good land. If we go in USA, it's not the same that in another country. And after that, we have 3 steps, very big steps. Then it depends of what we want to do. And after that, we will choose the good consultant for the good part. The second step is adaptation. Then we need to adapt our product, our company in a legal approach, as we said before, but mostly to find the best customer, the best first customer to inspire the market. Then we need an open-minded consultant to open doors at this moment. It's not always the same kind of people. In my world, in innovation world. After that, if we find the good customer, we are able to convince a major partner, a VAR, value added reseller. It's not easy. It's not easy. Sometimes you can find a VAR in aerospace fields, in human factors. Sometimes it's in healthcare fields. It's not the same kind of people to be able to convince this kind of VAR. Then we need always an open mind consultant at this step 2. And if we have all the argument, local argument, we can imagine to create a subsidiary. Then sometime it's the same consultant before and after, sometime, but not always. Then I would say the 8 qualities that a super consultant would have would be the familiarity with the international market. Sorry. And having already left their home country for several years. Because if you stay in a new country 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's not enough. You need to live while several years in another country to change your mind. It's very, very important to find a consultant who have 2 nationalities. I think Michael have 2 nationalities between Belgium and USA. It's 2 mindsets. If you have 2 mindsets, you have sometime another mindset, third mindset or another. Then it's very, very important to be able to understand several cultures. The second thing is to have an entrepreneurial background, having already created a company and ideally a subsidiary to understand the significant differences and adjustment between a parent company and a subsidiary company. It's not the same. It's to be able to aggregate a large amount of information and plan a new approach in a short time to prioritize efficiency over beliefs. We all have beliefs, but it's not enough. 4, it has already participated in R&D project or product development. Personally, I work in R&D project in Canada or USA, and it helps me to change my mind, to adjust the product all the time. It's not 1 month and 11 months to sales. It's a R&D project all the times, and to improve our capacity to sell all the time. 5, it's a consultant has already participated in seeking public or private funding for companies. Sometimes you have to find money in USA. Sometimes you have to find money in different countries to create a subsidiary in USA. Then we have to be open-minded with several kind of partners all the time. Six, has already participated in strategic business acquisition. Sometimes we have customers who ask us to buy a company. We can win and save time. This scenario is very different from starting from scratch. Seven, has already failed in certain projects by little or by a lot. Sometimes we closed some companies, some subsidiaries. It was difficult things in legal approach. For example, the law can change, and it can change all of what we have to do in business after. Then it's important to understand leadership in uncertainty and the need to constantly put things into perspective, because we need to build a framework and a robust architecture. And at least eight, it will be a person who enjoys leadership in uncertainty. It's often harder than expected. Then you need a resilient playmaker. Then for me, a consultant needs to have all these qualities and more. He needs to be able to like the change management all the time.
I mean, I think that our list is fascinating. I was listening to you, and I think to myself, you cannot have this on site when you're also running a business in France, doing all of that on the other side of the Atlantic. But what I'm also hearing is define your needs based on. I mean, define them really clearly. Are you setting up a subsidiary? Are you just trying to get into the market? Are you just looking for distribution? What is your plan? Based on that selection of concrete needs, find the right consultant, but also set expectations then, because expectation management, and Michael, I would like you to say a few things about that, is extremely important. You need to set expectations and then review where you are after 6 months. So I don't know, Michael, how fast you review, and Olivier, and then adjust the strategy. I mean, seems to be like the key. Not only in the actual expansion, but also working with somebody to help you. Michael, do you want to say a few words about that?
Yeah, and if you allow me to, I would like to go back as well to the previous discussion by Olivier, because I wanna share with you, before I go to expectations, a different market approach model that's been successful for me and my customers. That is a very practical approach. So I already introduced you to the 360-degree review, where me, as under the umbrella of the consultants, are sharing with you, okay, this is what you're going to be facing. These are my strategic recommendations. These are the red flags. This is how I want to do it. I think what is missing, if you're working from distance and you're not really attached to the market, really connected to the market, it is that you can select, you can choose to hire my services then as a contractor to execute my own consulting, my own strategic recommendation in the market. I think that's a really key. You can have consultants who can advise, but who is going to execute? Are you going to execute from Europe? Or who are you going to look for now to execute the advice by consulting partners? So that's a big difference there. Going to your question about expectations, I make it really clear before I get started in a contractor situation where I am going to execute my own strategic recommendations, what to expect, what not to expect, what the budgets needed are. If the company has a certain budget and they're looking for a strategy, I can adjust the strategy in function of the budget that is available. If the budget is unlimited or a bit larger, I can come up with a strategy trying to reach your goals, your objectives a bit quicker. So that's very important as to expectation setting. Expectations need to be supported by budgets, need to be supported by resources from the mother company in order to make that happen. I've had some companies tell me, okay, we're set, this is the strategy, now it's up to you. No, it's not up to me. It's going to be up to us together to make sure that we have the resources available at all time, that you respect deadlines, that you respect response times, and so forth. So expectation setting, expectation discussions is something ongoing as of before day one, before the launch, actually.
And we're getting to the second, because I think that's also a very, very important part. And I want to spend a little bit of time on that. The expectation setting, we already said that earlier, the honesty about your situation. There's no shame in having a budget of, or I mean, what's a small budget? It really depends on the organization. But there's no shame in talking about a budget, relaying that, and then you can adjust. Maybe you do a smaller target test market instead of tackling the entire United States at once. But I think it's the openness and the self-assessment of the company who is expanding, and then the openness when you're talking to the consultant. You mentioned something that drives me absolutely insane. When I'm dealing with European companies, response time. It's a courtesy to tell somebody, you know, I received your email. I don't have the answer. I will get back to you. I need to look things up. Not replying is rude. So and especially if you're working with somebody whom you're hiring to do a job for you, not replying to them requires them to reach out to you 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. They may have somebody that they're talking to who is asking them that question, and they're now asking that question from you. I mean, we all know, every American knows that that's a huge problem. But what are some of the other issues that come up where maybe it's a cultural thing that makes it difficult to collaborate? What are some of the other things that you encounter?
Maybe sometimes I think it's about, if you talk about a consultant in Europe, it still has a negative connotation, whereas in the US, you ask for advice and it's good. So I think there perhaps people are used to the EACCs or the other trade consulates where it's a bit more, okay, you ask a question and you don't need to answer or whatever because it's tax money that is paying for that. So undecisiveness is another one that is a killer. I mean, you can engage with a partner in the local market. You can ask questions for sure. Going to share references to give you a little bit of a background on my experience. But then there's a certain moment in time where you have to say yes or no, because we cannot continue the discussion forever, or we cannot wait on your response forever. There has to be some kind of a decision-making process. You can say, hey, we're 3 months out of a decision. Hey, I got a board meeting in November coming up. It's only after that we can see if the budget will be approved or not. That's all good, but leaving us out there, just not knowing what's going to happen, that to me is a killer as well.
Yeah, very good point. Olivier, what are you saying?
Yes, for me it's the same. I select my customers, as I explained. Then I don't see very often customers who don't respect their commitment, because in our contract they have to come 3 or 4 times per year in USA or Canada, and they have to respect their commitment with everybody. Sometimes we have some troubles for small projects. Small projects, it's about 6 months. And when it's 6 months, they come to meet people, but not to make real business. When we sign a customer for 3 years, it's different. The first year, we have to create a new start, a new story, a furrow that we can trace the first year, the second year, the third year. Then if we made some errors the first years, it's terrible for the second year or so. Terrible to make business. It's terrible. It can break some new ecosystem that we build together. Then we don't see very often that because we select our customers. Basically, they are international education. They know how to behave in different countries, and they know that if they want to make business, they need to say what they do and do what they say. I don't see that very often in my company, but I can see that with another partners. For small things, if you have delegation, European delegation, for example, you have all kind of people, of kind of expectation. Then sometimes they take informations, they come back in their country, and after that, no news. Then that's why we select our customer for at least 2 years or 3 years, because when we have a long-term approach with a lot of different objectives, we need to reach every step. To reach every step, you need to come very often, and you need to respect your commitment if you want to reach partners, a customer, or to imagine to create a subsidiary before 2 or 3 years. But I understand what you say, because with my partner in public organization, I represent a part of France in North America. We see all kind of behaviors, all kind. We see people who understand that it's important to say what we do, to do what we say, and when we come back to answer at every email, not in 1 month or 3 months, but as soon as possible. And we have another people who forget everything. They come here, they come back in France or in Germany, and they forget what they said, what they have to do. But in my company, we choose our customer. Personally, I have a grid criteria with 37 criteria. Then I have my own software. Either is a red flag, orange flag, yellow, not so bad, but not very good. When it's green, it's about 20%. The way remaining is about 20%. 20% in 2 or 3 years, it's feasible. More, it's close to being impossible. Then people have to understand it's like to learn a musical instrument. You can learn a musical instrument before 3 years. Even after 3 years, you stay a beginner. Then to begin to make business in USA or Canada, it takes time. You need to create a very big ecosystem to influence the market. In my world, it's like that. And if you don't take the first year to create your furrow, your story, you have nothing to say after. You
Yeah, I
can't
think
look
you're making.
at the first year.
I think you're making a very important point, and I want to tie that in with what Michael just said. How do I look at a consultant? A consultant is not a helper. A consultant is an expert that you're using to assist you with a project.
Yes.
So it's not someone who's cleaning up after you. It's somebody who's cleaning the street in front of you, paving the street in front of you.
Yeah,
and once you have mindset, you also understand that you don't, and that's where we're getting back to the milestones. You have milestones, you work against them, but you need to communicate, have you reached these milestones? What exactly do you want based on the analysis? Is this, everybody in Michael's world wants to get into Walmart or Costco. Of course they do, but you know what? Do you really have the capacity to go into Costco? Can you make all the stuff that you're trying to sell there? And it's a numbers game. I mean, if you don't have the capacity in Europe to make all the stuff you're trying to sell into Costco, do you have the raw materials to make all the stuff and then to sell into Costco? And then do you have the budget to do all of that? And in addition to the budget that you need to get into the United States? it's a you know, it depends on so many factors, where you have somebody like I mean, in this particular example, Michael, who can say, okay, so here you're getting you know, you're 25% there, but you have like 15 other things you need to iron out on your side. All of this is time that that in this case Michael spends on your global or US expansion. You need to pay for that. Michael needs to pay the rent. Olivier, you know, needs to pay the rent, needs to make a living. How do you address that? You know, how do you manage your own time when you're working with companies? I mean, I'm sure you have vampires who suck the time out of you by not replying or not being prepared. How do you manage that?
I think it's a bit driven as well by the client. I would even say mainly because the people who are most enthusiastic, who are highest motivated to help you succeed together with you, those are the people that will get the most time, unfortunately. So, as well, different ways of structuring the cost, of course. Let it be a fixed amount, let it be a commission, let it be retainer, let it be X hours per month or whatsoever. So, a little bit of a combination, but energy, enthusiasm, willingness to succeed together, that's for me the main driver.
Yes, I agree with Michael. It's pleasure. For me, pleasure, because with pleasure we have a passion to discover technology, a new world. Technology, it's not just tech, it's a mindset, it's a philosophy, it's a lot of things. Then we need to understand always new world. Quantum, currently I work in quantum projects. It's not the same than deep tech. Deep tech is huge. Quantum is another thing. Then you have to understand, you have to define the objective. Sometimes we don't know the objective. It's just the first phases, adaptation, is to understand what kind of objective we can imagine. The innovation, it's very, very particular things, because we can do a lot of different things. You have to choose among a lot of possibilities. When the project is more easy to understand, for example, I work in industrial projects, then sometimes it's easier to understand what you have to do. Then the objective can be in 6 months, 1 year, to reach, to find an investor, for example, a partner for a joint venture, for example. It's not so easy, but we can have a milestone for that. Then to be paid with that, we have some retainer, we have some success fee, and sometimes we become shareholders of our project. But as I said, when you work with a partner for 3 years, with in overpassing a lot of obstacles during 1, 2, or 3 years, you can become a good partner. We are like Sherpa to scale every step until the top of the mountain. If after 3 years we reach our goals, we deserve to continue. Then sometimes we stay in the project 5 years after, 10 years after, and even 15 years after for 2 projects where I am, or my partner were. Then all is possible. If you have a long-term approach, you learn so much things in every field of a company. You learn things, financial things about the company, legal things, business, R&D, IP. You know the mindset of your partner. Then
But
you're able. Yes.
you're making a very good comment here, partner of your partner.
Yes.
So, you know, I think that's a crucial part again to how do you see a consultant. I mean, it's somebody who you are having a conversation with because they know more about the market that you're trying to enter, or a process that you do. You need to accept them as an expert. You need to treat them as a partner. with respect. You need to have back and forth conversations, bring them into internal decision making on the European side, and say, hey, we changed the packaging or whatever. It's now 50 grams instead of 20 grams of something, and the cookie is bigger, the cookie is smaller, or whatever it may be. And then bring the partner in at the or the consultant. Now I'm saying partner. You know, in along those lines. I mean, it's really. I think it's. I see it so often that you know, we have companies we're talking to, and we're you know, connecting them with somebody who could help them, and then they say, "Yeah, I know. I now know everything." You know, after two phone calls, I'm completely in the know. And then they go and do their own thing, and they think, I have like an intern who can work with me on this. How do we deal with this? Because
Michael?
Happens every day.
I know it's terrible, isn't it?
Happens every day. Yeah. It's a matter of making sure that you share the value that you can bring, that you give enough information about yourself, about your past experiences, in order to convince, okay, where's the added value? Because that's what the European company is looking for. Where is the added value? What is it going to bring me? And indeed, adding an intern from Europe to your desk far away, it's not going to help them, unfortunately.
And it's not on. I mean, there's you know, and let me turn it around. I mean, there are obviously all kind of people who say I can help you, and then they can't. So I always like to think this is how the EACC, where the EACC comes in. I have a reputation to lose with the EEN, the European Commission, but also as an organization in a larger context. If I recommend somebody as an expert, that you know, it's just like you know, slugging around and not really delivering on what they promised. So reaching out to organizations like the EACC and Chambers of Commerce is also a good way for companies to find good consultants. What are some of the things that the company should look for when they are picking a consultant?
Olivier, you want to go first?
Yes, there are a lot of different projects, and there are a lot of different consultants. You have to choose the good consultant for the good project. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's not. I have associates, another consultant in my company. Sometimes it's not enough. You have to find another consultant somewhere, because the new field is very, very different, and we need a specialist, an entrepreneur, open-minded, and also specialist in this kind of field. Sometimes you need someone who knows this field since 30 years. You can begin with a new learner in this kind of process, and it depends of the objective. Sometimes export is enough. This week I met companies from France. They don't want to set up a subsidiary. They just want to sell, to find a distributor. Then it's more simple. It's not simple. It's never simple, but it's more simple. Rather than not to know the objective of the company, not to understand what kind of project we will able to do in the future. Another companies want to sell before to set up a subsidiary. It's logical, but most of them prefer to wait to have some results to set up a subsidiary. Sometimes we have entrepreneurs who decide to begin in set up a subsidiary to have local legal credency at the beginning. Then it depends of the objective, the choice of the consultant. You have to find somebody with who it's easy to work. The same thing between the customer and the consultant. And you have to project yourself to work with this partner sometimes more than 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. And you have to imagine that it's possible. As you said, some clients say a lot of things. They said they are the best. They are ready to sell. All is perfect. When I take my 37 criteria grid, it's not the same answer at the end. It's not the same answer. Then you have to analyze what kind of people you meet, what kind of people you can have a commitment or not. Because if it's 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, I take an example with a joint venture, for example, you can't improvise with who you work. It's impossible. It's impossible. You have to choose very hard worker, very good entrepreneurs. You have to make a very good choice to be able to combine, because in our work, we have to combine matrix approach, then what is predictable, and organic approach, what is unforeseen, unplanned. It's very important. All the time you are between this kind of way.
For me, it's a bit more
Yeah.
defined. For me, it's a bit more defined because I'm already a specialist in the food industry. So for me, the field is not as wide, it's not as open. If you're dealing with food, I'm the person to talk to. But you can apply it as well to other markets, of course. Don't come to me talking about alcoholic beverages because that's not my specialty. So if you have already a connection with the expert in the field, dare to ask questions. People that are promising you the end of the world, everything is going to be fantastic, usually are not the ones that are going to deliver to you. They can tell you how it's going to be, but they're not going to execute themselves. So that's important. And I keep on repeating, it's the personal connection as well. Just have good chats at the beginning. Don't hold back, be direct. We'll find out who you are. You'll find out who I am. And if there's a match, hey, that's great. If not, please look for somebody else. No bad feelings. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I think it's also asking a lot of questions. I mean, getting you through your 37 point spreadsheet. But also, Michael, same with you. You know, if you have a consultant that is asking more questions, trying to get to know you, because they're evaluating you as well. I mean, it needs to be a match in both directions. Is, I think, very very important. I mean, funny enough, it's the same with if you're joining the EACC as a member. I mean, you're either a match and we can help you, or we can't. If we can't help you, it makes no sense for you to be a member of the EACC. But we have only 5 minutes left, and I'm checking if there are any questions from the audience, and maybe there are, and we can answer them after the next segment. And by the way, if you have additional questions, you can always reach out to the EACC. You have my email address on our website, and I'm happy to connect you to either Michael or Olivier, you know, if you have any follow-up questions. What are some of the key takeaways from that? And maybe Michael, if you want to start, that you want to give people on the way of selecting a consultant, working with a consultant, and then really making sure that you get what you paid for, because it's an important thing. I mean, I really think that the milestones is really important, that you know what your expectations are and that you're communicating that clearly.
I have two takeaways in general for your business launch on the US market. One is, and Olivier started with that, is time. Don't expect miracles. Everything is going to take time here. So be respectful for the time of your consultant. I'll be respectful for your time as well, but be respectful to develop your business, to take the next steps. It does not take less than 3 years for you to be able to evaluate, is there something here or not, once you've gone through that 360-degree review, and we can go to the next steps. That's my first takeaway. Second takeaway is, in the US, it is very easy, very common to set up your US subsidiary to be protected. Remember, I was talking about the legal implications. as well for in the food industry, especially. Lots of insurances are cheaper when you contract those out of your US subsidiary. It's easy to start up a US subsidiary to protect yourself, to give a long-term strategic vision to the market. I'm here to stay. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to hide. And if it doesn't work out, it's easy to cease that formation, that incorporation, and just stop doing that and just retract from the market in case you have a different strategic vision 5 years, 10 years down the road, in case other opportunities come up for you that are more interesting. So those would be my two main takeaways for today. Thank you.
Olivier?
Yes, I am agree with Michael. I would add the human behavior. You need, in my work, we need a DNA of exploration. Then we need people who are not afraid to explore before to decide. We need a methodology for good or bad weather. The weather is sometimes bad. You have to maintain the direction. It's very, very important. And we need more and more a long-term approach. What you say the first year, you have to say after, or to explain why you change your mind. You can change all the time of story. It's not possible. If you want to create your trusted ecosystem, you will need to create new roads, because people like to take always the same ecosystem, the same networks than the others. We have to create our own ecosystem. Also, we need adequacy and coherency between goals, plan, and people all the time. And at least in operation, you have to choose, for example, a CEO on demand, CEO on demand. In operation, people who are able to do a lot of different things and can change of point of view between the European point of view or North American. This is my conclusion.
Yeah, that's a very important point, and it gets us back to it being able to make decisions. Because that's an important part. Thank you so much. I think that was really, really interesting. I hope our audience feels the same way. Again, if you have additional questions, you can reach me at eaccny.com. Happy to assist with any follow-up questions. And thank you to the ESMA team for working with us on this workshop series. And I think Christos is going to have some final remarks. Is he around for that? So then I hand over to Christos Skouras.
I'm here. Hello, Yvonne. But you cannot see my camera, right?
No.
No.
Okay. Let me start again. Okay.
Here we go.
Oh. Yeah, but
Hey,
it's not my camera. It's not my camera from. I had an issue today all day. It's not the camera from. Anyway, sorry for that. Again, as always, the webinar was extremely useful, very explanatory, very hands-on, and I think that it's always very focused. The audience that participates in the webinars is always the audience that really needs to get the information about that particular topic that is being discussed. So I think it's quite useful. And to be honest, for me, the main takeaway is that it's basically a challenge also for the SMEs, the European SMEs, the fact that they do not have the time to invest in exploring, like the right consultant, because I understand that the consultant must be the right fit that fits the strategy of the company and its approach, So usually the companies, the European companies, do not have the time needed and required to invest in doing this exploratory, let's say, process, go through it, and find the right fit, take their time, you know. Usually not the case. They do not have the time, and usually they do not have the necessary resources, the staff required to do that. So I understand.
But it's a catch-22, because if you don't invest the time, you don't get what you need.
Yeah, I know, but I understand that also this is their challenge, because they feel they need to move, they need to run, they don't invest the time needed, and this is when failure comes, and it's a pity. But again, I think the message was very clear in terms of that it's better to take time, invest time in finding the right consultant, get the right guidance, see if the consultant matches your approach as a company, rather than rush into it and finally dedicate resources, money, and fail. I would like to thank you very much. I found it really interesting. It was a topic I was not, I have to be honest, very familiar with, only, you know, like very superficially. Great, many thanks to Yvonne, of course, and Olivier and Michael. And I would like to wish a good evening to our audience, and to remind them, as always, I do it every time I close a webinar, but for all these webinars are publicly available recordings on our EN website. So they can always reach out, and please try to circulate to as many companies as possible. Thank you very much. Sorry for the camera again.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.